booted off a flight. And I want to talk about it here just a little bit because I don't think people are quite understanding what happened here and why flight crews wanted him to move seats. What's going on, everyone? Thanks for watching. Sight Sounds Flavors on YouTube, sightsoundsflavors.com, live in your face, coming at you from Louisville, Kentucky. So, I'm a big fan of Khabib's, phenomenal fighter, got a great style about his fighting. He's a good guy to the fans. I'm not saying anything to the contrary. Now, what I am going to say, he is seated, or was seated, because he got basically booted off the flight. And it was kind of his fault here, and I'm going to tell you why. Number one, when you sit in the exit row, you have got to be able to render aid. That's why in the video he keeps saying, I know how to help people. That may be true, Khabib. You may know how to help people. This is the part where I think I'm going to ruffle some people's feathers, and I really hope that I don't, because that's not what my goal is. But there is a language in which aid must be rendered. When you sit in that row, it used to be that you could sit in that row at your request because basically you're doing a favor for the airline. As airlines have become more cash strapped, they sell you those tickets, which is an argument, a discussion for another day. I mean, you're paying to work for them basically because you are going to be rendering aid, helping people off the plane and whatnot. It's a noble gesture, but basically you're doing it and you would normally get paid for doing something like that. But you're not. You're paying for it. But you're not paying just for that. You're paying because you have more leg room, you have more arm width. A lot of times when you fly a lot of airlines, if you get a seat in that row or rows, you'll get free complimentary beverages, alcoholic beverages, that sort of thing. They'll give you some kind of a perk. But the real perk is that it's a bigger seat. You're basically getting like a first class size seat for an economy with a couple bucks over it. The problem is that Khabib has a bit of a thick accent. You know, maybe his English is at 85, 90%, right? Which is almost completely fluent, but it's not completely fluent. And one flight attendant that came after to back up her colleague told Khabib that it's discretionary. So maybe that second flight attendant thought that his English was good enough, but because the first one did not think it was good enough, she wasn't going to go against her colleague, and she was going to back up her colleague. Because if one flight attendant, say there's a team of 5 flight attendants on that flight, and 4 think that his English is just fine, but one says no, that one says no is enough to trump the other 4, in my opinion, because it is such an important thing that somebody understand English 100% perfectly. Because look, how many times has the emergency aisle been used? In other words, how many times has there been a water landing that requires the assistance of people in that row? I don't know of a single one. All the more reason, if God forbid the flight we're talking about happens to have one of those emergency landings, if the person in that row does not speak perfect English, they can't serve to help people, to help the flight crew. Look, here in Louisville, Kentucky, my dad's Cuban, God rest his soul. He passed away June 15th of 2024 at 100 years of age. He lived 2/3 of his life in the United States. His English was perfect, okay? But let me tell you something. A lot of Cubans here in Louisville, Kentucky, they don't speak a word of English, and they're in that emergency seating there. You know, sometimes flight crews will ask them, hey, how's it going today? Or, you know, where are you headed to? And they can't answer. But really what they want to know is if the person can speak English. And when they can't, they ask them to move. Now, they may not like it. They may say, well, I paid extra for this. Oh, well, you should have known. That's the other thing. If you pay extra for it, when you can't speak English, don't expect the airline to give you a refund. Be happy that they're willing to put you in another seat. Now, that's what happened with Khabib. They basically offered him the opportunity to go to another seat. And I'm not saying that the guy was entitled, but maybe the guy was entitled and he didn't want to move. As a result, he got booted off the flight. So, look, this is not I don't know why this is becoming viral. I don't understand. But here at Sight Sounds Flavors on YouTube, we've got a playlist, which is the Real Talk playlist, the Unfiltered playlist. And I figured, listen, let me go ahead and weigh in on this. Let me do it live in case anybody sees it live and wants to ask me any questions. We've already had quite a few people come through. But I really don't think that this is all that big of news, honestly. I really would like more airlines, though, to enforce the English competency aspect of it, because again, like they're in a aid rendering role. Yes, they're getting a bigger seat, they're getting more leg room, they're getting complimentary alcoholic beverages, maybe complimentary snacks. I don't know, but they're there for a purpose. And if they don't understand the language, the United States, our official language, even though I guess we don't officially have it as our official language, I think it's pretty stupid, but is English. So if you can't speak perfect English, please do not sit in the emergency exit row. I think that should be common sense. I'm sad that it's not, and Khabib had to learn it the hard way. You cannot sit, if you don't understand English, you cannot sit in the exit row on a plane. Okay, I mean, why is that like so, I had a buddy of mine, I just had lunch, as you can see over here at Pita Pit, and he said, don't talk about that. They're gonna think that you're not, I was like, listen. My father came from Cuba. He learned perfect English. We spoke English at home, okay, and Spanish. My mom came here from Chile. She learned perfect English. We spoke English. We spoke Spanish at home interchangeably. The Italians came here. They learned perfect English. The Polish came here. They learned perfect English. The Chinese, the Russians, they all came here. They all learned perfect English. If you cannot speak perfect English, you can't sit in the exit row. End of story. Now, Khabib speaks English. It's pretty good English. It's not perfect. You have got to speak perfect English to sit in the exit row of a plane. Again, just my 2 cents here. You're free to disagree. That's why we have comments. You can leave a comment down below. You can give the video a thumbs up or not. Maybe by not giving it a thumbs up, you're telling me, hey, I don't agree. Totally fine. Totally fine. But I'm not going to shy away from talking about it, because what is the controversy, What have I said that's insensitive? Why do I have to guard myself? Like my buddy at lunch told me, oh, no, you can't talk about that. You can't suggest that English is the official language. Well, why the hell not? English is the official language. I don't need some bureaucrat in Washington to tell me it's the official language. English is the language we speak here. And every other language that we speak, that's great on your own time. English is a language we speak here, okay? Let's keep it that way, okay? So just to close off, if you can't speak perfect English, you can't sit in the exit row. Khabib, I'm so sorry, but not really. You could have moved to another seat. You didn't want to move to another seat, so they booted you from the plane. I think they played it right. And I really hope the airline doesn't, cave like a cheap suit and pay Khabib like some sort of a, hope you feel better like thing. Because the last thing the airline should do is do that. The airline should be proud of how their flight staff handled the situation. They never yelled at the guy. They never cursed at him. They didn't bring the cops on, which they could have. The air marshals, they didn't do any of that. They just said, look, you got to go. They got their stuff. And to their credit, they didn't slam the overhead compartments. They didn't curse. They deboarded, which is sad, because now they were probably inconvenienced. They probably have to buy another ticket. But look, at the end of the day, I will say it one last time. If you can't speak perfect English, do not sit in the exit row. And I would like for the airlines to enforce this more aggressively, because, come on, I mean, that really, really should be common sense. And it's sad that it's not. And it's sad that I had a buddy tell me over lunch, don't talk about that. You might